I'm not doing it this time, and you can't make me. Just kidding. Transformers. More than meets the eye. What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are ranking the Transformers films. We're talking the live-action movies and the one animated film from the 80s. I need your comments down below. What is your order of the Transformers films? Do you prefer Michael Bay or not? If you guys want to drop a like on this tier list video, we're back to doing tier lists. It's been a while. That would be awesome. And today's video is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. We'll get into that here in just a second. But first... No, we're going to begin with the OG, the original, the one that started it all. And nope, not talking about the animated Transformers film. I'm talking about the live-action renaissance, if you want to call it that, of Transformers movies. And look who it is. It's Michael Bay. You know, obviously, I'm up and down on Michael Bay's filmography, and we'll progress our way through this franchise, and we'll get into why I believe he's not the best director for this franchise. That being said, before he started to take all of these ideas really overboard, he kept it, I use the word simple for the first Transformers, that's not the case, but he kept it more simple with this first movie, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think this movie works.
You what?
And when we get to the animated Transformers movie, I'm going to say the same thing about that for a different group of people, but for a big group of individuals, this film came out at the perfect time. It holds so much nostalgia for myself and many others. That being said, you say to yourself, Austin, you can't rely on nostalgia. Is the movie itself good? It's a little overly convoluted. I think there are too many ideas at play in this film. Some of the dialogue isn't the best, but I say some, and it's a small portion. And a couple of characters in there, I just don't know. I don't know what the goal there was with those characters, specifically robotic characters that just... not good. But I think of some of these battle sequences. The movie starts off with the military base scene, and that is, explosive, as Michael Bay always does. But that's a great beginning to this film. And then you get to know the Witwickies. And I always thought growing up that his family, his mom and dad, I thought they were really funny. Going back and rewatching the movie, I still think they're funny. And I believe Shia LaBeouf does a good job in this movie, in this franchise as a whole. He is an insane character. There are points in other films where he's just losing his freaking mind, but it works. It works extremely well, and I do think, his inclusion, the Witwicky storyline in general was nice, but seeing those Transformers transform for the first time in this film, the Autobots, all coming in at once and meeting up with Sam, that was just, come on, dude. That sequence...
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last... minute details.
And yeah, sure, the big CGI battle sequence in the third act, it's hard to tell certain things that are going on, and at a point it does become a little too schlocky. He said the word schlocky. But I can't think of another blockbuster that looks like this in 2007. This stands apart. It's distinct. It uses those Michael Bay film techniques and the color palette and, the very dark, harsh colors at points. But, I watch it compared to some other more modern blockbusters, and I'm like, at least it's stylistic. Some of these blockbusters we get today, they're bland. You can't really tell who directed them. It feels like a studio project. This first film does not feel like that. For better, for me, worse for some, but I believe this is the best of all of the elements that we've seen in these Michael Bay movies put together, and I am going to put the first Transformers movie, surprise, surprise, on the great tier. This is one I defend. Before we go any further, it's time for today's sponsor. We're almost a week away from Father's Day, and I know for a fact you're looking for a last-second gift. Come on, we all do it. Well, today's sponsor is not old and worn-down ugly wallet. That's this one. Today's sponsor is much more slick and compact. It's Ridge Wallet. My Ridge Wallet is forged carbon with a matte finish. It's scratch-resistant, and there's a lifetime warranty. Not only are you ditching the outdated look, but there are so many color schemes that range from Base Camp Orange to Forged Pacific. But those aren't the only ones. There are over 30 different colors. It's designed to protect you from digital pickpocketers, and it holds up to 12 cards, which is more than enough for me. With over 3 million customers, 50,000 five-star reviews, and you get to test drive it for 99 days, why would you not at least try this incredible wallet? Also, while you're at it, you might as well get one of the Ridge key cases. If you like this much more convenient wallet, you can find it down below at ridge.com/flickfans, and you could get up to 40% off if you use that link. So I think you should click on it. I don't know. That's ridge.com/flickfans, and it's only through June 15th, so not a ton of time left. And then the writer's strike happened back in 2008, 2009, that time period. And instead of kind of holding off for a sequel, they're like, we have to capitalize on the money. We have to do it now. And they did it. And you can tell the effect of not having great writers on a film like this because, while people have issue with the dialogue in the first Transformers movie, you got this one, and it's not only one step down. It's like 3 to 4 steps down from the first. And I believe this is one of the more problematic scripts I've ever seen in a blockbuster. You still have the same entertaining characters like Sam, and I even like Megan Fox in these movies. I enjoyed her in the first film. I like her in the second movie. I had a crush on her as a kid. Okay, what was I supposed to do?
This is a load of barnacles.
And you have, what's his name, Leo, the guy that comes along on this journey. It's like, why is he here? I mean, you needed somebody, did you? Tyrese Gibson and Josh Duhamel's character, they are a little more prominent than maybe I expected, but I don't love their role in this movie as well. And bringing everything together and just a scattered attempt at this crazy finale. Sam is seeing symbols and he's going crazy, losing his mind. He's trying to live a normal life, trying to start college at the beginning of this movie, but we know it's not going to work out in his favor. And as the Autobots return and he gets to go on this brand new adventure, I'm trying to figure out as it's going, what is this adventure? I mean, there are like 3 major plot points going on, and they don't tie in together all that well. This movie's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And as much as I really enjoy the style of these Michael Bay Transformers movies, especially reflecting on them and looking back, this script is just bad. And because of that, I'm going to put it on the bad tier. Eek. Also, you know what? I just noticed. How did this happen? Why is Mad there and okay there? What is happening? Next up, Dark of the Moon. Or as I like to call it, one of the biggest improvements from sequel to sequel in any franchise that I've ever seen. It's a massive difference. It is so much better than Revenge of the Fallen, from the characters to the plot points. Now, we're still dealing with a key, and Sam's got to get the key, and Optimus Prime has to play a role in getting the key, and you have the Transformers that all come together. And what happened to a couple of our characters from the last movie? It's fine. Do the little miniature robots and their storyline, are they necessary in this film? And is that humor good? Not really. That side of the story is a little messy. And there's some subplots in this film that are completely unnecessary. And Ken Jeong's storyline is very small in this film. But the beginning, when he's pointing the guns at the auto, that was so stupid. And I get what you're trying to do, Michael Bay. You're trying to play upon that type of humor with his character. He's a funny guy. Let's get him to do a funny thing. And it's so out of place and so dumb. And John Malkovich is there for some reason. It's so stupid. Patrick Dempsey isn't all that bad in this film. I know people gave him crap for it when it first came out, but he's not bad. I really like John Turturro in these movies, and I really like the role that he has once again in this film. Love him in the first one. Really enjoy him here. Josh Duhamel and Tyrese Gibson, their characters play a more pivotal role in the final battle, that third act, huge Chicago sequence, which was just like chef's kiss, the beginning of the invasion. That scene, it got to me as a kid, man. I watched that, and of course, Linkin Park. I love Linkin Park. I love Linkin Park. They're the best. And yeah, that sequence is shot like a music video. I don't care. I still really like it. I get it. It's a gimmick. But this whole franchise is kind of a gimmick. And unfortunately, it loses the magic as soon as this movie is over. But I really like the third act of this film, including Sentinel Prime and obviously Leonard Nimoy as the voice man. Some really cool decisions. Yeah, some silliness, not all the battle sequences, you can see what's going on, but at least the sound design is amazing, the score is amazing. What do I say? I'm going to shock the world, go against the critics, go against a lot of people, and put this on the good tier. I got to be honest with you guys. All right, I'm going to go through these a bit quicker than I have the last 3, because while I don't think Revenge of the Fallen is a good movie, I believe these 2 movies are a massive step down. And it's not me saying, oh, they should have never replaced Shia LaBeouf. I mean, they shouldn't have. And I'm sad they did. But it's, Mark Wahlberg. No, I like Mark Wahlberg. I love Mark Wahlberg. Transformers. It's like they just gave up on the plot. And they just gave up on giving us compelling characters. Because you're basically having a reset with the main core, the main group of characters that we're following around. Because apparently Sam Witwick's dead. Are you just going to mention that in passing? You just don't even worry about it? It's fine.
What the
is this?
How do you waste Jack Rayner, Stanley Tucci, Kelsey Grammer, Mark Wahlberg? I mean, how do you waste these actors by giving them nothing compelling to do? And the plot of this film, a bit of a retread of what we've seen. I think there are a couple of interesting moments with the Autobots. And all right, fine, Age of Extinction has Dinobots. Cool. But it's like the cinematography took a step down. The score wasn't as impactful as the last three movies. It's like when that trilogy ended, the magic was lost for Age of Extinction. And it's still Transformers on the big screen, cool. But everybody's issues that I'm always seeing on Twitter, it's like Michael Bay is so bad when he directs a Transformers movie. I don't know if that applies to the first three, well, two out of the first three films as much. This movie, it absolutely applies. I got like motion sickness while watching this film at times. The final battle and really the battles in general, they're all over the place. Dinobots are cool. Optimus Prime as always is great. I'm going to put it on the bad tier. I mean, Dinobots, right? That's cool. And then the last night, Optimus Prime is gone. The key to our future is buried in the secrets of the past. And we go back into the olden days. And for some reason, Stanley Tucci's back, but this time he's a... It's so stupid. He plays Merlin. When I use the complaint of there's too much going on here at once, that ultimately applies to this film more than it does any other movie in the franchise, more than any other movie in any major blockbuster franchise. I hated this film. I think the other two that are on the bad tier are bad. I believe this is one of the worst big-budgeted blockbusters I have ever seen. I got a literal headache. I got up in the middle of this movie, almost walked out. But I had to do the review. I'm like, I'm going to do the review. I'm going to talk about it. I can't not watch the end of it. And I suffered through the terribleness of what this blockbuster was. I didn't care about Mark Wahlberg's character. I didn't care about any of these side characters.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Josh Duhamel's back. That's cool, right? Was the T.J. Miller death in this film or the last film? It was ruthless. I think it was in the last movie. Oh, Anthony Hopkins is in this movie. And he was sleepwalking. I think he came out in an interview and said, "What the was that?" It's atrocious. It's going on the awful tier. If I had one lower, I would do it. But what a god-awful movie. Can you save us from this madness, Travis Knight? Can you bring back the Transformers franchise? Well, this movie didn't from a box office perspective. Bumblebee did not do very well, unfortunately. Don't know why people didn't go see it, because it was really fun. It captured the time period beautifully. We loved the 80s, and this captured that style. I think Travis Knight is a great director. I mentioned maybe him taking over for James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, bringing that same flair from Bumblebee and from his animated films he's directed to the MCU, right? But the magic that Bumblebee had, the fact that it was able to bring this franchise back to life in terms of quality, is awesome. And it kind of started, it's somewhat of a soft reboot. It started a new franchise that keeps the heart of some of those Michael Bay originals, but also brings in the heart of what we knew from the Transformers when it came to the 80s. And I think Bumblebee did a fantastic job of delivering on a compelling story with great characters. Haley Steinfeld is great in this movie. So disappointed she wasn't in Rise of the Beasts. I get it. Maybe bringing her back eventually would be cool. But Optimus Prime in this film, not as optimistic, not as positive as he was in the Michael Bay movies, doesn't trust humans. There's some conflict in there. There are some character arcs to some of these Transformers, Autobots, and, even the Decepticons in this movie that are really, really interesting. And I think those ideas were starting to transfer into Rise of the Beasts, and I want to see them play out. I want to see this franchise continue to play out. And Bumblebee is the definition of how to properly do a soft reboot on an already popular franchise. And they were so bad, I think that's part of the reason why this film crashed and burned. But this was also, I think, responsible in bringing it back to the level of quality that Transformers and Paramount deserves to be at. There were some slow moments in the middle that I didn't quite love, and the action sequences, the final battle, wasn't as grand scale as the first Michael Bay Transformers movie, so I think I was more impacted by that, and I guess a little less style, but a very distinct style nonetheless that I think Knight brings as a director. So all of those things being said, I'm putting Bumblebee on the great tier. I think this is yet another great Transformers movie. All right, the animated Transformers the movie. Pure, unadulterated, non-stop, incredible amounts of nostalgia for those who grew up in the 80s. The soundtrack is full of 80s music and that really just classic look and feel to all of the characters. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about the death of Optimus Prime. Didn't they do that in Age of Extinction? No, they did that in Revenge of the Fallen. Oh my God, I completely forgot they killed Optimus. That's how bad that movie was. No, this is how you do it. This Transformers movie is how you do that. You feel all of the pain. And I do think those that watched the original animated show felt that more so. I feel like maybe if you went in and watched this movie without seeing that, you didn't feel that hit you as hard than some other fans. So it's not necessarily a movie fully built for those who didn't watch the original show, even though I do think it stands on its own. It's also not one that, if you're younger and you don't know a lot about how movies were made in the 80s, this may be the ultimate example, because I watched this film and it's entertaining, it's quality for the time, it worked extremely well. I didn't grow up in the 80s, I don't have that nostalgia, so I didn't watch it through those goggles, and I watched this film and I'm like, oh yeah, that's pure 80s. And I don't think a lot of it holds up, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people are throwing hands right. I'm sorry. I don't think a lot of it holds up. But I still think for the time, and that's how I'm looking at this, that's how I'm approaching it, it worked extremely well, and it was very quality animated filmmaking at that point, which is why I'm going to put this one on the good tier. But remember, it is very, very, very 80s. Finally, Rise of the Beasts. I've been debating in my head, what tier am I going to put this on? Is it going to be the okay tier, the good tier? I'm like right in the middle on both of those. It doesn't have a ton of style to it. I think Stephen Cable Jr. is a capable director. I believe the writing in this film is an upgrade, a big upgrade on the last couple of Transformers movies. There are some humorous moments in here that just kind of like, they don't work as well as they intend to for me. Pete Davidson's character was better than I thought he would be, more entertaining, I guess, but then there are some jokes I'm like, and they spend too long at the beginning on the human characters, but once we get into it, I think the Autobots get a lot to do. The Maximals are really fun, really entertaining. The backstory there is cool. You can tell it's a soft reboot on the franchise, this and Bumblebee, because the events that are taking place here, and really Optimus Prime, his character. I don't know how you watch this and you're like, oh no, that's the same Optimus Prime as the Michael Bay movies. No, it's not. He's a very different character, and he's learning things in this film way sooner than he would have in that other universe. I had fun with it. I had more fun than I thought I would have. The only thing I really think it's missing is that sense of feeling different compared to other more bland blockbusters, studio blockbusters happening right now. And that's not a bad thing, but I watched this final battle sequence and I'm like, it is entertaining. I like what the characters do. I like the battles themselves, the one-on-ones, and there's a moment with Bumblebee that is just great. But you know, the visual style, it's not great. It's just kind of like studio churning out another CGI battle sequence, even though I love where the characters are going in that moment, but there's nothing to it that allows it to feel fresh, and that's really unfortunate. And then, you know, not getting into the story that I was loving until a bit later on in the movie was a bummer, a bit of a disappointment, but once we got there, I was having a good time. I was having a way better time than I ever imagined with this film because honestly, I wasn't looking forward to it. I've soured on this franchise. But after Bumblebee and then this, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at right now, especially after what we get at the end, which I was like, oh! Here's what I'm thinking right now. I prefer Rise of the Beasts over the 1980s Transformers movie, which I think is an okay experience, but again, it doesn't quite hold up as well as, you know, maybe a lot of people hope. So I'm actually going to move this down to the okay tier, to much people's disappointment, just because I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of nostalgia involved with that movie, but I could say the same thing with the first Transformers movie. I'm blinded. I'm blinded by nostalgia, but I don't care. And I'm going to put Rise of the Beasts on that tier as well, and we will settle this right now, because now we go into the ranking portion of this video. And obviously, we're going to start at the bottom on the awful tier with a genuinely terrible, awful, garbage movie. And the order on the bad tier looks pretty good as well. I would put Revenge of the Fallen above Age of Extinction. On the okay tier, I am going to move the 1980s Transformers movie below Rise of the Beasts. On the good tier, obviously, is Transformers 3, which I probably have higher than other people. And then on the grade tier, is it Bumblebee or is it Transformers? As a film, I think Bumblebee is better. But as an experience and one that I personally will go back to and revisit over and over, I would slightly put Transformers above that. And, I have to be honest with you guys. I have to be genuine. And that genuinely looks like a good order for me. And that looks like a good tier list for me. But this does not work without your all's tier list. This does not work without your all's ranking. I want to say thank you so much for watching this video. This was a lot of fun to do. If you guys want to see a tier list next for the DC movies, or if you'd rather see a ranking, that's today's question. Tier list or ranking for the DC films this upcoming week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks again to Rich Wallet for sponsoring this video. I'll see you soon.